Thank you so much, Michael. I'm feeling much more at home now. And we're very much looking forward to seeing the performance, of course. Next up, let's move on from Michael to Michael. Michael Eickhoff is our next presenter. He comes from Germany. He's a dramaturge and a historian focused on the intersection between aesthetics and politics, which is also something that I think has a lot to do with audience engagement. He's a member of the Academy for Theater and Digitality, and the order of that is on purpose, so it's first theater, then digitality, as he pointed out to me, which is a model project of the Theater Dortmund. And I think he will tell us all about that in his presentation that is coming up. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Vanessa, for introducing me, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be here to speak to you today. My name is Michael. I work in Dortmund, as mentioned, at the Academy for Theater and Digitality, and as a dramaturg, and I'm shaping the national and international collaborations. Before I share with you two examples that try to answer the question of today, the question of how permeable and fluid the line between audience and actors, between recipients and performers will be in the theater of tomorrow, let me say two sentences about the institution on whose behalf I'm speaking here. The Academy for Theater and Digitality is a globally unique model project for digital innovation, for artistic research, and also for technology-oriented training and further education for all genres of the performing arts, on, in front of, and behind the stage. The Academy is the sixth department of the Theater Dortmund under the direction of Markus Lobbes. It was founded in 2019 after 6 years of preparation and intense artistic work with digital technologies in the drama department in Dortmund. The Academy's assignment has been dedicated to researching the structural conditions of artistic and technical practice on stages, which are significantly shaped by digitalization. Central features of our work are, and I don't point it out, central features of our work are artistic technical research, prototyping and development, application-oriented or related testing, practical and theoretical advice, cultural political structure building, and networking between local, national, and international stakeholders from culture, science, and business. But the core of our work is artistic technical research, for which we are offering a broad fellowship program. I would like to briefly present two projects that fellows researched, developed, and tested during their 5-month residency at the Academy in Dortmund. Both examples address the line between spectator and actor. In both cases, the approach and the moment of decision to participate is completely different, even completely opposite. The first example takes me back to our second research semester. Gloria Schulz is a digital artist from Hamburg who works as a developer and producer. As a founding member of the artistic collective Blutende FreischwimmerInnen, she was a fellow at the Academy in 2020. During her 5-month fellowship, she worked together with creative coder Alexander Nahm to overcome and expand the singular experience in virtual worlds, both technically and narratively. So maybe what I forget is also to switch a bit the slides. I didn't take the note for that. The inside when the Academy is abundant during the night, and the next one is quite crowded during a presentation or a conference. Maybe we got also 2 slides further, please. It's also shown several pictures from the fellowship or from the project of Alexander Nahm and Gloria Schulz. Their experimental setup was designed for 20 people, all equipped with wireless Oculus Quest goggles to move and perform together in an analog space. Corona and the contact restrictions, however, reduced their experimental setup on a rehearsal space of 3 people. In their project Multiverse, spectators with wireless VR glasses move through a hall with tape on the floor. Maybe we go to the next picture, please. You can see it in behind, for example, and the next one, please, also. The next slide, please. Yes, there you can see the hall the actors or performers are moving in. With tape on the floor to help with calibration. The 2 fellows have used 2 tools. The first was an app that helps calibrate multiple virtual reality headsets in a defined physical area and connect them to a shared virtual environment. The second component is supporting software for managing and monitoring the devices in use. The spectators, or to be more precise, the actors, share a common virtual world, move through virtual streets, open doors on houses, and see their live-tracked analog co-actors as avatars on in his or her own virtual environment. All spectators create a shared narrative that can take a different direction at any moment. So the result was an associative, nonlinear, and multi-perspective storytelling that dissolves the experience of singularity and the feeling of being abandoned in virtual worlds. In this way, spectators become conscious participants and in the co-creation of the play. Participation requires a conscious decision for being a volitional participant, or let's say a spectator or a spectator in a co-creation. The second example, maybe we stop at the next slide, please, on the white one. There you can see, for example, the interaction between the 2 actors, which are coming from the Schauspiel department, and they were a bit our test bunnies in these in this run-through during the final presentation at the end of each fellowship. But we go a slide further, please, to the white one. The second ensemble I'd like to present you is a research project by Marco Donnarumma and Andrea Famigliari from Italy, with a mentor, Meredith Thomas from the UK, from our 3rd research semester. They came in September 2021 and focused on the question how it could be possible to make the agency of an AI algorithm visible. So they asked, how do audiences understand an artificial intelligence? What do they think it is, and how does it look like? So how it could be possible to show that any AI is embodied, has a body, and as such, it does not exist in a digital void, but rather cannot escape interacting with the world and its inhabitants. After a few years of research on sound and biodata, their fellowship period focused on an autoencoder, decided to experiment with the possibilities of AI-based computer vision. In the process, they realized that a computer vision system offered great opportunities to establish an interaction between audience, performers, and the artificial intelligence that was easier to comprehend for an audience. This is not only because the algorithm uses live video footage from the performance and especially from the movements of the audience, but also because the learning process of the algorithm after certain hacks can be literally visualized in an understandable way. The both Marco and Andrea created an algorithm that is capable to learn the characteristics of an object, for example, of a leaf. One could compare 3 images. One of the video input, one of the video output as reconstructed by the algorithm in real time from scratch, and lastly, and a final image shows the loss, a variable that the algorithm monitors to understand how close so far the reconstructed video is from the original input video. So the loss shows the algorithm how to optimize its output. The network of autoencoder learn from video footage on the performance in real time, from a matrix of black and white, from a matrix of black and white pixels. The network of autoencoder, however, has a memory. At the end of each performance, the autoencoder save the models they created so as to use them at the start of the next performance. So in this way, the network of algorithm constructs day by day its own memory of the events taking place during the performance, and therefore develops a continuous understanding of what is important, or what is important information, and what is loss, what is anomaly. This continuous and endless process of learning during lots of performances is the performance of the artificial intelligence. And the next step, Marco and Andrea were researching how the AI learning process is manifested during the performance through sound and light, and how this mechanism creates a feedback system between the analog world, on the one hand, of the performance, and the digital world of the artificial intelligence. Technically, the algorithm do learn and do manage to produce a convincing output, but through its own learning, it affects what it sees, entering thus an ever-changing feedback loop. In order to lengthen that, the learning process even further, the learning rate of the autoencoder is said to be relatively slow and is changed throughout the performance in relation to the dramaturgy of it. As the learning of the autoencoder was in a continuous loop and was set sufficiently slow, it suddenly seemed possible to gain minimal changes in gentle movements of the audience as control impulses. Live-generated video recordings of the audience moving imperceptibly could be made available to the network of autoencoders as material for machine learning, and were directly linked to light and sound control. So what the fellows get is the feedback system between the digital algorithm on the one hand and the analog events of the performance and the audience. So if we look at the spectator here, we can see that he or she becomes an intentional participant, a spectator who, through his or her presence in the performance, influences the use of light and sound in the ongoing series of performances without knowing it. Through a complex network of autoencoders, the use of the latent space and the connection of AI learnings with control impulses for light, intensity, sound, and volume, a performance is created that communicates with the past and makes the future of further performances appear, if not uncertain, then at least unpredictable. But it can be predicted with certainty, however, that the future of theater is anything but uncertain. However, the idea of the spectator is undergoing an expansion and change. The degree of participation, whether voluntary or involuntary, is massively increasing, which charges a theater with new attractiveness as a truly interactive art between what used to be called stage and auditorium. An attractiveness that theaters can lift as a treasure, just they can preserve. An attractiveness that theaters can lift as a treasure, just as they can preserve the treasure of language, the treasure of body and movement, of rhythm and breeze, so that the past unites with the future. Thanks a lot.